Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Shinta Puspitasari from Group 5. In this chance, I would like to present the journal analysis with the title Language Variation Background in Social Context of Community Utterances in Central Java, West Java, Majenang. The purpose of this journal to describe the background that underlies social domain language variation in Majenang. There are three measures of literature review: the first social context, the second language variation, and the last community or the market. Social context. Based on the Aslinda and Safi Insari 2015, Sociolinguistics is the field of interdisciplinary science that studies the language of the community. And the next is language variation. Mastery in 2009 suggests that the fundamental reason for the emergence of language-related variation is very close to social networking. And then the last, community. Based on the Arianti in 2013, the market becomes a place of meeting and buyer in doing good fulfillment transaction. This is the research method. This research was a qualitative research using linguistics approach. The method used in this study was using case study method. Data in this study is divided into two primary and secondary data. The data validity used in this study was divided into two triangulations, the first triangulation method and the theory triangulation. Data analysis in this research used matching method. This is the result and discussion. The results of this study found three variations of language according to the Masur Patendas theory. There are language variation in terms of place, language variation in terms of situation, and language variation viewed in terms of user. The first is language variation in terms of place, divided into four forms, namely dialect, regional language, colloquial, and vernacular. The discussion of these four forms is as follows. The first is dialect. Dialect is variety of a particular language which is spoken by a group of speakers that is signaled by systematic markers such as syntactical, phonological, grammatical markers. Dialect may be in the form of regional dialect and social dialect. Alright, let's analyze this conversation. PBS as buyer and PGS as merchant. Okay, this is the description. The Majenang dialect that combines Javanese accent and the Sundanese tone. The PGS or the merchant said, "Oh ya, nyangesuk anu si imah dijak atuh." In word dijak, which is the word of Javanese language, ngabak meaning, and then followed by word atuh, which is the word affirmation of Sundanese, giving its own particularity in Majenang dialect. Okay, the next is a regional language. Regional language is language spoken in an area that is part of the larger nation state. As we know that in Indonesia has a lot of regional language such as Javanese, Sundanese, Balinese, and etc. Alright, let's see the conversation. This is the description of the conversation. It can be concluded that any language spoken in one particular part of state, which is its official language, is therefore a regional language. Colloquial is the most common functional style of speech, the idiom normally employed in conversation and other informal contexts. Let's analyze the conversation. Okay, the colloquial background of the Majenang language is the words that are indirect approved by both the speaker 1 and 2. Those words are quick to shorten the sentence pronunciation so much faster in the process of speaking. This colloquial not only occur in Majenang language as description but also in various languages such as Indonesian. For example, the word duh from the word aduh, dah from the word sudah, and so forth. Okay, next, vernacular. It is the speech variety used in everyday life by the general population in a geographical or social territory. Let's read this illustration. Okay, this is the description of the conversation, and then that's on the conversation. 3 of them, STS as tissue seller, PBTS1 as tissue buyer 1, PBTS2 as tissue buyer 2. 3 of them use general language to communicate each other. And the second result, language variation in terms of situation. Language variation are viewed in terms of situation is from two forms. The first is informal and informal circumstance. Okay. We use formal language in situations that are serious or that involve people we don't know well or the older people. This is the conversation. You can look at the translate inside a bracket. This is the description. Both of them use formal language. The official language is usually characterized by intonation, the language used. If Japanese, it is Chromo-Japanese. The underlying situation is very influential because from we can determine whether the situation is formal or informal. Okay, this is language in informal situation. It's more commonly used in situations that are more relaxed and involve people we know well. This is the conversation. Conversation in everyday language are usually done by buyers and sellers in the interaction process. However, informal situations not only deal with seller and buyer, but often happen to buyer and buyers, such as form will be described. Okay, the next is language variation in terms of customer. There is a idiolect which occur in the conversation, often found in Majenang area because of the geographical location of Majenang, which is the border area between Central Java and West Java. The next is sex. Basically, a man and a woman are two different creatures in terms of speaking. So, it is only natural if the emotionally woman which continue to speak more politely than men. This is the monolingual. You can read the conversation. Basically, Majenang residents are not entirely from Majenang. There are many migrants living in Majenang, both from Central Java and West Java. But inevitable that they are also learning Majenang language, so that the communication process with local people can be harmonious. This is the role. You can read the conversation. This is the description. The above conversation is a conversation between a parent and a young person. As also the attitude that should be done to older, namely respect and appreciation. This is the next is social status. Based on the conversation, it is very clear the form of praise performed by the hijab vendor to the teacher, by speaking with the Rombel language used to honor someone. So, therefore, a person who interacts with a teacher definitely shows a respect and courtesy more to him or her because a teacher has been rewarded for our life. And then age. So, the shapes that have been shown as in the above conversation are the ones that fit into their respective facts. And then this is the conclusion. Based on the results and the discussion found, and after adjusting to the classification of the theory presented by Mansur Padeta's theory on the implementation of the study, it can be concluded that there are two different variations of the language in it. The three variations of the language are language variations seen in terms of places, situation, and variation of the language viewed in terms of time. Thank you so much. That's all my presentation about the journal analysis. Thank you so much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.